There is nothing left to lose. And if that requires me signing a statutory declaration right now to say that I'm telling the truth, then I'm comfortable with that. No, I don't think I'm psychologically damaged. I've got to a point where I don't know what the answers are. Near death, a miracle story, a true survivor. Or is she? Welcome to Extraordinary Stories podcast. Hey, how are you? Are you well? Are you good? I am. Alright, I'm going to do a couple of quick hellos and then I'm going to get to the story. Hello to Holly Dixon. How you doing, Holly? Thank you for your post in the Facebook group. Much appreciated. Hello to Sarah Ellen Woodruff. Thank you for spreading the good word of Extraordinary Stories where you can. That's much appreciated. Courtney McIntyre De Silva. You bought a t-shirt, piece of ESP merch, looking gorgeous in that t-shirt, so thanks, Courtney. And Molly Crew. Hello, Molly. And it's a big happy birthday to Molly's mum, Kathy. Now, Kathy, I believe you listen to the podcast when you're out walking the dog. Have a happy bloody birthday when it comes, Kathy. I hope you have a great time. Okay, that's the shout outs. Let's get to the story. Are you ready? Okay, let's go. When Annabelle Natalia Gibson arrived on Instagram in 2013, she was going to have quite the impact on people. Now, when she arrived on Instagram, or the gram, or Insta, I don't know what the cool kids call it. I had to ask someone the other day what a stan was. I'm pretty sure I still don't understand. I think it just means you're a big fan of something. I don't really understand it. Anyway, Instagram. When she arrives on the Instagram, she is going to get herself lots and lots of fans. Now, she's just an ordinary young woman on Instagram, but here's why she's going to be really popular. She has the most incredible story to tell, and social media was her medium. Using one of the many names that she went by in her life, Belle would share with a few followers at first, because she only had a few followers, that she had beaten her life-threatening cancer diagnosis by herself. Belle claimed that conventional medication, it had failed her, and that she had found the cure to cancer in the following things: nutritious food, exercise, and a positive mindset. Belle explained that she was a 22-year-old single mother, and that her story was truly extraordinary and that the world needed to hear it. And they did. Her Instagram became such a success overnight. I mean, it went from a handful of friends, people she knew, to thousands upon thousands. And this was because people just couldn't believe what was coming out of her mouth. She was this living miracle. She had done what Western medicine had been trying to do for years. She had cured herself of cancer. And the more she explained about her condition, the wilder the story got. She explained that her initial diagnosis was brain cancer, that she had a tumour in her brain and it was inoperable. Now, that's bad enough. But she would go on to explain that she'd gotten a further diagnosis. And this time, that diagnosis had discovered that she was suffering from cancer in her blood, spleen, liver and kidney. But yet here she was, on Instagram, this absolute picture of radiant health. So this was Belle in 2013. And she told the world that this diagnosis had happened in 2009 and that she'd only been given 4 months, and yet here she was years later. On Instagram she writes, "I have been fighting for the past 4 years with this brain tumour and secondary cancers, and I've done this with food and with fitness, and it's working for me." Right, now of course what you're going to get is you're going to get people who are just interested in that. They're going to be like, wow, that's an incredible story. This girl's story is amazing. But what's much more damaging is that Belle ends up getting hundreds and thousands of followers who are themselves battling cancer. And people think that they've found a sort of hope in Belle Gibson. She's this sort of beacon of light and of wellness. She becomes something of an inspiration. So let's journey back a second. Who is Annabelle Natalia Gibson? Well, she is an Australian born in Tasmania, and her life before the world meets her in 2013 has been chaos. Absolute bedlam. Growing up, she lived with her mother who had multiple sclerosis. And this meant that Belle, at a very, very young age, had pretty much had to run the house. She will talk about how when she was 5 and 6 years old, she had to go and get the groceries, she had to look after her brother, she had to clean the house. You know, she was really under pressure as a child. At age 12, this just all gets too much for Belle. And so she leaves the house. She leaves her mother, she leaves her brother, and she moves in with a friend and that friend's family. By age 17, she's moved away from Tasmania and she's living in Perth, where she becomes a skater. She gets into the skateboard scene and she's hanging around with the skateboard kids. He was a skater boy. I said, see you later, boy. Bloody love Skater Boy. Do you know that? Honestly, I swear to God, see when I'm like an old man, and I'm about 90, if you put a microphone in my face, I'll still be able to sing you every word of Skater Boy, because what a tune. It's such a tune. I'll be there giving it, Skater Boy, should see you later, boy. That was my old man voice. It's good, eh? It's good. Anyway, so somewhere in this mix of becoming a skater kid. When she's 17, she meets a man who's in his 60s and she moves in with him. And they live together for a year. Now that's quite the age gap. 17, 60. One of two things is happening. He's either a pedo, she's a gold digger. Take your pick. It's one of those two things. Once that's all finished with the 60-year-old, Belle will go through a horrible year in her life when an ex-boyfriend begins to stalk her and she really fears for her life. She'll tell friends that he's constantly watching her, following her, and that she's scared. Well, her friends say to her, go to the police, tell them, alert people, but Belle believes that she can get it under control and eventually the stalking stops and she begins to get back to a bit of normality. At age 18, she'll fall pregnant, not with the 60-year-old man, but with a stranger. And she'll end up living in Melbourne. So between the ages of 12 and 18, she has been pretty busy. And it's when she's 18 that she gets this earth-shattering diagnosis about her cancer. Now, how does she get that diagnosis? A man comes to her house when she's 18 years old, and he is an immunologist. He does some tests on Belle. Now, she talks about these tests. This man is called Mark John. And when Mark John arrives, he brings with him a box. This box is from Germany. And it has lights on it. And it has metal pads. And what happens is you attach these metal pads to a chair. And then you get someone to sit in the chair and it measures the frequency of their health. And that's how you get a reading. So, Mark John comes, he's got his light up box with its metal pads. He puts one underneath a seat, he puts one on the back of a seat, he gets Belle to sit down and he tells Belle, the machine is telling me that you have stage 4 brain cancer. And it's incurable. Now, if any of that sounds unbelievable, that's because it is. This didn't happen. Belle Gibson never sat down with a man called Mark John who brought a German box with lights and 2 metal plates, and she was never told that she had brain cancer. However, she believes that she did. She starts to tell the story of her brain cancer, at first just to people round about her, but she changes a major fact. She says this happened in a doctor's surgery. Belle Gibson is a liar, pants on fire, and everything out of her mouth is a lie. But where we're in a grey area is even more so at that time than now. Belle Gibson's best defence is to say that she thinks these things are true. So it's sort of complicated. It's basically like if you turned round to someone who had lied to you and said, you lied to me about that thing, and their defence was, but I believe it to be true. Well, you don't really have an argument. You both know it's a lie. The liar is lying again on top of it. So you're in this really messy, horrible situation. But here's the thing, nobody knows Belle Gibson's a liar at this point. Before we even get to the point where that's going to happen, let's stay on the absolutely crazy juggernaut of fame, riches and followers that's coming Belle Gibson's way around about the time that she's on Instagram giving out this news. Belle takes to Instagram once more, and this time she's got more bad news. She's had more tests, and the doctors have told her the cancer is out of control. It's spreading everywhere through her body. And of course, as she's telling this to people, she's shocked. She's saying, she's trying to live with peace and love. And her followers, they're really behind her. They're wishing her well. They want the best for her. And they're asking questions. So, who gave you this diagnosis, Belle? And she says, my doctor. What's his name? Dr. Phil. Dr. Phil. If you're going to make up a fake fucking doctor, why would you call him Dr. Phil? That's like making up a fake therapist and calling him Freud. Like, shut up. Shut up, you absolute fool. Well, I say fool, right, but the problem is Belle Gibson isn't a fool. She might have something else going on, but she knows how to play the game, and she's playing it really well. So well, in fact, that big companies are beginning to pay attention to Belle Gibson. Apple, the largest media corporation in the world, they're seeing this Instagram following, this effect that Belle Gibson is having on people all over the world, and they think, okay, let's offer her a deal. So they discuss with Belle launching an app and a book, and it's going to be called The Whole Pantry. And the app will be like a wellness app, and the book will be like a sort of cookbook. And at the core of both of these things is going to be Belle's story of how she is fighting cancer, but she's not using the normal routes of medicine. Instead, she's doing it by the things that she eats, by exercise, by living well. At the same time that that's developing, Belle is telling the world that she is now working with over 20 different cancer charities, and that she's supporting them, and that they should all expect to see big donations from her earnings on the app and on the book. When the app launches, it gets 200,000 downloads in its first day, and the book is a bestseller. In just a short few months between the app and the book, The Whole Pantry has made $1 million. Belle Gibson truly is the face of survival. And of course, just to offset this slightly so that it doesn't all look too positive, Belle will still tell the world that you never know, Dr. Phil might be back soon with some bad news, but for now, she's staying positive. Now, it's round about this time that she begins turning up at cancer fundraisers all over the place, completely uninvited. I was thinking about this, about her doing this, and it's just so awkward. These charities, right? These charities are running events for different types of cancer, different demographics, different groups. Okay, so you might have like kids with cancer, you might have men, you might have breast cancer, all of these different things. And here is bloody Belle Gibson arriving like a celebrity, trying to steal the limelight. Folk are like, who invited her? Nobody is the answer. it's just so awkward that she was like turning up to these things like, hi there, hi, I'm Belle Gibson, the the cancer survivor. These charities are like, you weren't invited, but here she is. Any chance to sort of get her face out there and be seen, it's just adding to the brand that is now Belle Gibson. At no point has anyone ever seen anything medical from Belle. There's no documents. None of her doctors have ever come forward publicly to discuss their thoughts on how well she's doing. But she just keeps giving out the information about her health with nothing to back it up. So now I'll introduce someone else who is genuine, and her name is Jess Ainscough. Now, similar to Belle in lots of ways, she was a young Australian woman who had cancer, genuinely had a cancer diagnosis, and Jess became well known as something of a wellness warrior. That was the sort of label that she was given. Jess Ainscough wasn't about saying, I will beat my illness. She was about life prolonging. So she subscribed to something called the Gerson therapy, which is like to do with salt reducing in your diet, coffee enemas, and a vegetarian diet. And what's her whole thing is about living with cancer, but living well with it and trying to see if you can prolong your life with these things. She's not claiming to cure anything. She's just saying that you can live well. Sadly, Jess Ainscough dies aged 29, and there's a fairly public memorial service for a woman who had really tried to fight her diagnosis but had lost. Well, guess who rocks up at the memorial service? Belle, here to give an Oscar-worthy performance as a grieving friend. Belle barely knew Jess. They had met in passing once. And here's the thing, Jess Ainscough had actually said, there's something not right about Belle Gibson, but I just can't put my finger on it. Well, here's Belle at the funeral, crying so loudly during the service, wailing, that some of the people around her will later say it was embarrassing how loud she was crying. After the ceremony, Belle takes Jess's bereaved boyfriend aside and tries to commandeer him at the funeral until basically he has to tell her to fuck off, basically, because she's just being an absolute pain. So she'd managed to get herself to that funeral, she'd managed to make a scene, and of course what she believes is that this just strengthens her role in this community. Now, it's not to say that everyone just took everything Belle had to say on face value. There had always been doubters. I mean, it's a pretty crazy story. But there's going to be a pretty major blow. And that comes in the form of a friend of Belle's who takes to social media to announce that she has known Belle Gibson a long time and that she is a liar. It reads, I have known Belle Gibson my whole life, creator of the Whole Pantry app and book. Unfortunately, there are a few things you may need to know before you consider publishing any more about this woman. She is a compulsive liar. In fact, she is so tangled in her own web of lies. When she lived in Brisbane, she had created such a web of lies that she had to move to Melbourne to start again. because she couldn't keep up with what she was telling people. She has lied about her age. She has lied about her diagnosis. And she is lying that she is curing herself. She's always had a problem with fabricating stories from nothing. This happens on a regular basis. You must be aware of this before you publish any more about this woman. She's selling a fake sob story in order to profit from an app and a book. She is a wolf in sheep's clothing and a master manipulator. And that came directly from one of Belle's friends. Now that was sent to one of the partners who was working with Belle at the time, but it did not take long for that to make its way into the media. And now, suddenly, there's doubts, there's questions. As soon as this happens, what does Belle Gibson do? Well, she comes back with more of her story, things that she hasn't told people yet, and wait till you hear this. She tells everyone, she tells all of her followers, anyone who'll listen, that back in 2009, that cancer diagnosis, well, it wasn't the only thing to happen to her. It was a lot worse. Belle tells us that in 2009 she had 4 cardiac arrests and that she died twice on the table and that they had to bring her back to life. In that same year she also had a stroke. She also had 2 major heart operations. They were testing her for MS, and then she got her cancer diagnosis. That's a lot. It's a lot for one person. Now, Belle can say whatever she wants, but the cracks are beginning to show. By now, the media has picked up on the fact that she just might be a liar. Suddenly, all the magazines, like Cosmopolitan magazine, who gave her Women of the Year award, are like, oh shit, we might have made a big mistake here. Asked for further details about her treatment, her doctors, any paperwork, anything that can kind of back up her story, Belle closes up and won't answer. As these doubts are swirling around, the big blow is going to come when one of the charities who Belle is boasting that she has given $300,000 to comes forward and says, we've never seen a penny of this. Why is she telling everyone that she's given us $300,000? She's never given us anything. By now, all of those major investors are beginning to see that they are in trouble with Belle Gibson. An investigation begins by the police into the money she's receiving, the money that she's told charities is coming, and the whole thing just begins to unravel before her eyes and in public. After a year's worth of wranglings in and out of courts, Belle is brought into court, and what is incredible is that she holds on to the lies by saying, I believed these things happened to me. Asked in court, but what about the reports from you saying you were having chemotherapy? She says, I believed I was having chemotherapy. And they say to her, okay, but you weren't in hospital, so how did you think you were receiving chemotherapy? And with a determined face she says, I took a pill. I believed that this was chemotherapy in pill form. Asked, do you believe yourself to be a liar, Miss Gibson. She says, no, I've never told lies. When it all shakes down, Belle Gibson is ripped apart by the media. All of her partnerships are dissolved, and she's ordered by a judge to pay fines of $500,000 in damages. Her partner's profits, they would go to the cancer charities that she had fooled. This all broke in 2017, and this had gone on for 4 years, the Belle Gibson story. And she could still be seen on TV. And what's unbelievable is that even when it had gone to court and she'd been proved to be a liar, there were still statements coming out of her mouth like, I believe I have brain cancer, I believe I am going to die. Asked about her troubled life growing up, the mother with multiple sclerosis, the stalker that she had, the year that she lived with a 60-year-old man, Belle Gibson struggles to remember everything and keep the facts in order. She says, I get muddled, I forget what year that was, and I forget when this happened. And the one and only thing that her mother has ever said to the press is this: it is all a lie. Belle was raised in this house by me, and she barely lifted a finger. Belle's mother, just for clarification, does not have multiple sclerosis. Her brother had this to say: it's always been the same with her. Ever since she could talk, she lied. In her latest interview, Belle Gibson said this: I don't think I am so psychologically damaged that I have manufactured everything I presently think I know about my life. I've just got to a point where I don't know the answer. I just don't know it. Belle Gibson no longer has an Instagram account. And so ends the story. I'll tell you what you should watch because it's so bloody good. 60 minutes. You'll find it on YouTube. Just type Belle Gibson and it'll be the first thing to come up. Oh my god. It is so good. It's Belle Gibson being grilled about all of this, and it verges for me onto slightly creepy, because you see her brain trying to work out, I've told this lie, how can I now lie about this lie to make it sound like I believe these things are happening? It's weird. Oh my god, it's weird. And that woman that presents 60 Minutes, I just love her. Tara, I don't know what her surname is. Oh my god, she's brilliant. She's such a bloody brilliant interviewer. Honestly, you should see her trying to hold it together during the Belle Gibson interview. You can see she wants to get up and literally put her hands around Belle Gibson's neck, but she's trying to be patient. It's brilliant. So that's a recommendation. I would watch that. It's so good. Alrighty, well, I hope you enjoyed this story. I'm out of here. Get in touch, say hello, and until we speak again, okay, goodbye.
It didn't affect me really one way or the other. I would imagine from the look on his face, let's get it on, let's do it, let's get it over. Let's get it on. Let's do it. Let's get it over.